A simple woman named Jessica Harper was humiliated one morning at Atlantic National Bank. Her bag was dumped out. Her shirt was splashed with coffee, and she was shoved toward the door, mocked for wearing sweatpants, laughed at like she didn't belong. Whispers and sneers filled the lobby as she stood there, frozen and ashamed. But then, everything fell silent, because her billionaire husband had just walked in. And with one quiet command, the mockery was turned into regret, the laughter into fear, and the arrogance into utter disbelief. The bank was all sleek marble counters and hushed tones, a place where wealth whispered through every polished surface. Jessica walked in, wearing gray sweatpants and a plain white t-shirt, her auburn hair tied back in a loose ponytail. She was beautiful, soft green eyes, a gentle elegance. But her modesty hid it from the room. Beside her stood Ethan, sharp in a tailored charcoal suit, his presence radiating quiet confidence. They were there to open an account for the Harper Foundation, Jessica's nonprofit that poured millions into kids' education, starting with a hefty deposit for a new scholarship program. Ethan's phone buzzed, an overseas call he couldn't dodge, and he stepped outside, leaving Jessica to approach the counter alone. She carried a folder with the paperwork, her smile warm as she greeted the teller. But before the young clerk could respond, Vanessa Brooks, the branch manager, swooped in. Tall and severe, with blonde hair pulled tight and a suit that screamed authority, Vanessa took one look at Jessica's outfit and froze. Her eyes narrowed, lips curling into a thin, suspicious line. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone icy, like Jessica had stumbled into the wrong place. Jessica kept her voice steady. "I'd like to open an account and make a deposit for the Harper Foundation." She slid the folder forward, but Vanessa didn't even glance at it. Instead, she leaned over the counter, her gaze raking Jessica's sweatpants with disdain. "And where exactly did this money come from?" she snapped, loud enough to turn heads. "We're a prestigious institution. Our clients have a certain standard. I'll need more than your word to believe this isn't suspicious." Jessica's cheeks flushed, but she didn't argue, just opened the folder, pointing to the documents. "It's all here if you'd like to check." Vanessa didn't just question her. She leaned over the counter, snatched Jessica's tote from her shoulder, and dumped its contents onto the floor. Phone, wallet, keys, scattering them like garbage. "Let's see what you're really carrying," she sneered, kicking Jessica's wallet under a chair as Marcus clapped, "Bet it's stolen! Look at her rags!" Ryan flinched, muttering, "That's too far," but Vanessa barked, "Quiet, kid! This is my show!" Jessica knelt to gather her things, her hands trembling, but she didn't snap, just picked up her life as the crowd stared, their silence a knife twisting deeper. Vanessa wasn't having it. She snatched the folder, flipping through it with exaggerated skepticism, then tossed it back onto the counter with a scoff. "This could be fake for all I know," she said, her voice rising. "People like you don't just walk in with foundation money. What's your game?" A few clients in line shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between Jessica and Vanessa. A guy in a pinstripe suit muttered to his wife, "She doesn't look like she belongs here." Jessica's hands tightened around the folder, but she stayed calm. "It's legitimate. My husband and I—" Vanessa cut her off, stepping closer, her finger jabbing the air an inch from Jessica's face. "Don't give me stories!" she barked. "I've seen your type, dressed like you just rolled out of bed, thinking you can scam a bank like this. I should call security right now!" The room tensed, a hush falling as more heads turned. A teller named Ryan winced behind the counter, but said nothing. Jessica's heart pounded. She hated scenes, but she didn't snap, just stood there, her dignity a quiet shield. The humiliation didn't stop. Vanessa waved over a security guard, a burly guy named Marcus, who lumbered up with a frown. "Keep an eye on her," she ordered, loud and sharp. "I don't trust this one. Probably here to pull something shady. Marcus crossed his arms, looming over Jessica as Vanessa smirked. "What's in that bag?" she demanded, pointing at Jessica's plain canvas tote. "Open it. Let's see what you're hiding." Jessica's voice trembled slightly, but she stayed composed. "Just my phone and wallet," she said, unzipping it to show them. Marcus took it up a notch, grabbing a cup of coffee from the counter and accidentally spilling it down Jessica's shirt, the hot liquid soaking her white t-shirt and dripping onto her sweatpants. "Oops, thought you needed a wake-up call," he taunted, smirking as Vanessa cackled. "Now she looks the part. Wet trash." The pinstripe guy hooted, "Perfect upgrade for a beggar," while the fur coat woman snapped a photo, giggling, "This'll go viral. Scammer gets soaked." Jessica stood there, drenched and stinging, her composure a stark contrast to their venom, but the crowd's laughter roared on. Vanessa snorted, likely story, as Marcus rummaged through, pulling out her keys and tossing them onto the counter like evidence. A woman in a fur coat nearby giggled, whispering to her friend, "She looks like she's begging for change, not depositing it." Vanessa didn't stop there. She grabbed Jessica's folder again, this time ripping a page of the Foundation's proposal in half and tossing it at her feet. "This is junk! Probably printed it off some scam site!" she shouted, her voice echoing as Marcus cheered. "Yeah, shred it all! She's a fraud!" The pinstripe guy smirked. "Should have stayed on the street where she belongs." While a young teller named Lisa looked away, ashamed but silent. Jessica bent to pick up the torn paper, her fingers shaking, but she didn't yell, just tucked it back into the folder, her grace under fire, making their cruelty look uglier. The pinstripe guy nodded, chuckling. "Bet she's scamming. Look at her." Jessica shut her eyes for a second, willing herself to stay steady. She didn't need their respect. She ran a foundation that changed lives, but the sting of their judgment burned. She'd faced it before, people sizing her up by her clothes, but never this loud, never this public. Her fingers brushed the folder, clinging to the truth inside it, as Vanessa's finger jabbed closer, grazing her cheek. "You're wasting our time. Get out before I have you escorted." As Vanessa's finger grazed her cheek, Marcus stepped in closer, shoving Jessica's shoulder hard enough to make her stumble, her sneakers slipping on the wet floor from the coffee spill. "Move it, con artist! Out of here!" he growled, while Vanessa screeched, "Get her gone before she stains the place!" The fur coat woman clapped. "Finally! Clean up the riffraff!" And the pinstripe guy tossed a crumpled receipt at her, yelling, "Take your trash and go!" Jessica steadied herself, coffee dripping, paper fluttering, but she didn't break, just stood tall, her silence a defiance they couldn't crush. That's when Ethan walked back in. He'd finished his call, some deal in Singapore, and froze mid-step, his hazel eyes locking onto the scene, Vanessa's finger in Jessica's face, Marcus hovering, the crowd gawking. His jaw tightened, but his voice came out low, commanding. "You're speaking to my wife." The bank went dead silent. Ethan's voice didn't just silence the room. It hit like a thunderclap, freezing Vanessa mid-snarl, her fingers still dangling in the air as if caught in a spotlight. The crowd's mocking hum choked off, replaced by a stunned gasp that sucked the air dry. Marcus's beefy arms dropped like they'd forgotten how to move, and the pinstripe guy's jaw unhinged, his tie suddenly a noose around his smug neck. Jessica's green eyes flicked to Ethan, a flicker of relief breaking through her steady mask. And the bank felt smaller, tighter, as every head swiveled to this man in a suit who'd just turned their world upside down with 5 simple words. Vanessa's finger dropped, her face draining to a sickly white. Ethan didn't rush. He strode, each step a deliberate drumbeat that echoed off the marble, his suit cutting through the chaos like a blade through paper. Jessica exhaled, her shoulders loosening for the first time since Vanessa's finger grazed her cheek. The coffee stain on her shirt, now a badge of endurance as Ethan's presence wrapped around her like armor. The fur coat woman's phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor, her viral photo dream dead, while Ryan's eyes widened behind the counter, a grin tugging at his lips. He'd known something was coming, and here it was, a force no one could ignore. Marcus stepped back, hands falling limp. The air crackled as Ethan reached Jessica, his hand brushing her arm, a quiet claim that roared louder than any shout. And the room's smug bubble popped, leaving Vanessa's sneer a hollow shell and Marcus's bravado a puddle on the floor. The pinstripe guy shrank back, his crumpled receipt still fluttering where Jessica had stood, now a monument to his misjudgment, while the fur coat woman's giggle turned to a cough, her fur a shroud of embarrassment. Ethan's hazel eyes locked on Vanessa, promising a reckoning, and the audience could feel it. The tide had turned, the bullied wife now the center of a storm that'd sweep every last taunt away. The pinstripe guy's chuckle died in his throat, and the woman in fur blinked, her giggle choking off mid-breath. Ethan strode up beside Jessica, his suit crisp, his presence a wall of calm fury. "What's going on here?" he asked, though he'd seen enough. Jessica touched his arm, soft but firm. "It's okay, Ethan. I was just trying to open the account," Vanessa stammered. I didn't realize," Ethan's eyes narrowed, cutting her off. "You didn't realize what? That she's my wife? Or that she's worth more than your entire branch?" The room buzzed, whispers rippling as people pieced it together. Ethan Harper wasn't just rich. He was a billionaire investor, a powerhouse with over $300 million parked at Atlantic National, his name a staple in financial headlines. Vanessa's bravado crumbled, her hands fidgeting with her blazer. "Sir, I was just being cautious." Ethan shook his head, voice steady but sharp. "Cautious? You accused her of fraud in front of everyone because she's not in a designer dress. That's not caution. That's arrogance." Jessica stepped forward, her green eyes clear, her tone even. "It's not about me being his wife. It's about you treating me like I don't belong because of how I look. That's the problem here, not my account." The crowd shifted, some nodding, others looking away, caught in the truth of it. Marcus shuffled back to his post, head down, as Ryan, the teller, muttered, "I tried to tell her." The pinstripe guy adjusted his tie, suddenly silent, while the fur coat woman clutched her purse, her amusement gone. Ethan's gaze swept the room, landing on Vanessa. "You humiliated her for no reason. She's here to deposit money that'll help kids who'd never step foot in a place like this. Kids you'd probably judge too." Jessica nodded, adding, "The Harper Foundation isn't about flash. It's about people. You didn't even ask." The glass doors swung open, and a man in a gray suit rushed in. William Carter, the bank president. His face tight with worry. Someone had called him, probably Ryan, and he'd bolted from a meeting uptown. "Mr. Harper?" "Mrs. Harper," he said, breathless. "I'm so sorry. I just heard. Please, let's talk privately." He shot Vanessa a glare that could have cracked glass, then gestured to a side office. The crowd parted, eyes wide, as Ethan and Jessica followed, her sweatpants a stark contrast to the bank's gloss, yet her grace outshining it all. In the office, William shut the door, his hands clasped. "This is unacceptable. I can't apologize enough. What can we do?" Jessica sat, folder in her lap, her voice calm but firm. "I don't want anything for me, but this can't happen again, not to anyone. Train your staff, teach them to see past appearances. Set a policy. Respect every person who walks in, no matter what they're wearing. And partner with my foundation, give underprivileged students access to accounts, financial literacy, a chance." Ethan leaned forward, adding, You've got $300 million of my money here. Make it right, or I move it." Vanessa tried to backpedal as Ethan glared, her voice quaking. "Mr. Harper, I didn't mean it. I've got bills, a kid," she pleaded, her blonde hair falling loose from its tight bun in her panic. Jessica looked at her, coffee still staining her shirt, and said coolly, "You meant every word. You judged me without asking." Ethan stepped in, towering. "She's right. You're done in here. Cry all you want. Your career's toast." William nodded from the doorway. "Suspension's just the start. Full review by tomorrow." Vanessa crumpled, her smugness a memory, as the crowd watched her fall, their earlier jeers now a bitter echo. William nodded fast, scribbling notes. "Done. All of it. I'll oversee it personally." He paused, then said, "Vanessa's suspended. Effective now. Pending review. This isn't who we are." Jessica tilted her head, thoughtful. "Good. But don't just punish. Fix it. People can change." Marcus faced his own reckoning. William called him in as Ethan and Jessica left, his face red with shame. "I didn't know who she was. Please, I need this job," he begged, his burly frame shrinking under the president's glare. William's voice was steel. "You shoved her. Spilled coffee on her. You're lucky it's just a suspension. One more strike, you're out." The pinstripe guy and fur coat woman slunk away, their snickers replaced by whispers of Marcus's downfall, their own roles in the mess haunting them. Jessica's quiet victory hung in the air, a lesson they'd choke on, and the audience could cheer her rise over their ruin. Ethan squeezed her hand, proud, as William promised updates by week's end. The deal was sealed, not with threats, but with a push for something better. As they stood to leave, Jessica turned back, her eyes finding Vanessa through the glass. She was still out there, pale and fidgeting by the counter. "One more thing," Jessica said, voice soft. "We're hosting a parent workshop next month. Families with kids struggling to read. Vanessa's welcome to come. Sometimes we judge too quick without knowing what battles people fight." William blinked, stunned, then nodded. "I'll tell her." They walked out, Ethan's arm around her, the bank quieter now. No whispers, no snickers. Jessica's tote swung at her side, her sweatpants unchanged, but her presence had shifted the air. Vanessa stood frozen, her suspension a weight she'd carry home. The pinstripe guy slipped out, head low, and the fur coat woman avoided eye contact, her purse no shield. William watched them go, already drafting memos, knowing $300 million and a lesson hung in the balance. Outside, the morning sun hit Jessica's face, and she exhaled, the tension easing. Ethan looked at her, warm. "You okay?" She nodded, a small smile breaking through. "Yeah, it's not just about us. It's about them learning." He kissed her forehead, and they walked off, the bank behind them a little less smug, a little more human. If you felt something from this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.